Hey everybody, welcome to the first Ravens Outdoor podcast. Today I've got with me Jamie Wallace. Jamie's a content creator, vlogger, better known by his YouTube creator handle, Street Pigeon MTB. Spends most of his time creating relatable content for mountain bikers. Basically evolved as a rider and a personality before our eyes. I talked to Jamie about his YouTube journey, about being a kind of celebrity in the mountain bike world, about what the outdoors mean to him from a recreational viewpoint and where it all fits into his sort of well-being. We'll talk about secret trails, some of the backlash he's experienced to his work, the pressure to constantly create, as well as other subjects. I even dare to ask him the question that everybody wants answered: why Street Pigeon? So this wouldn't be a first podcast if we didn't have a couple of teething issues. Basically the first 3 minutes of the audio is missing, but it's an intro that Jamie gives for himself and a question that I ask him. We pick up his answer when I ask him, how did you get started in YouTube? And his answer was, well, I just had this weird hobby. So without further preamble, I give you Jamie Wallace. So if that was 2018, would that have been a weird hobby then? Because it's not a weird hobby now, right?
Well, it was weird insofar as I guess my friends were looking at it. I was this very strange person who was wandering around with a camera, making lots of noise on trails, putting these videos up that got 5 or 6 views. It was a bit of a strange thing.
Were your mates the 5 or 6? Were you reaching anybody?
No, I think it was me. I think the 5 or 6 views were me watching
they do
them.
count, don't they? Yeah.
Watching them on repeat, trying to get the views up. So yeah, I suppose initially it was just quite strange, and I think it got more normal as I sort of found my groove and it actually became something that was, you know, getting noticed and watched by people. Then it felt it was a bit more validated, if you like.
Well, 2018 is not yesterday. What's that? It's four solid years. Anyway, so so when you say it started getting watched by people, did you recognise what the catalyst was for that? Did if you've got somebody, you know, if it's just your pals and it's just you, was there something that kind of triggered that? Was there a first video or a first thing that you noticed and went, that's it?
No, so I mean, I think the reason I started making videos was because it was something I was watching on YouTube anyway. So I'd kind of got back into mountain biking in 2015, I think. And part of that, I mean, I get quite obsessive about things when I get into them. You'll know this, Alan, because you know me and we're both obsessed with CrossFit at the moment. But yeah, you know, I just kind of like dived deep into it. And one of the things that I was really enjoying whilst I was kind of learning to ride a bike again and go to places was I was watching videos of places. And, you know, there was 2 main people that I remember. So Ben Cathro was making amazing vids at that time. He really had his channel. And although he's super relatable as a person, I couldn't relate to his riding because he rides about 3 times the speed of me.
Yeah.
The other person at the time was Andrew McAvoy, McTrail Rider. And I could relate to his videos really well. Still a better rider, but actually what he was doing was, I think he was doing really well. He had great audio, he had great picture, but the commentary he was adding was meaning that actually you could watch a trail and I could have an idea about, you know, I could go to a trail, turn up at a trail, and if I had a commentary from McTrail Rider, I could work out how I was going to get on. So really that just actually spurred me on to starting to film actual local trails. So I think the thing that actually got the videos viewed and started is I was just starting to film local trails that were of local interest to local people. That's really where it came about, probably. Can
you remember what your first trail was, or your first video that you kind of went, yeah, that's I'm kind of satisfied with that. That's
oh,
you know, when you just kind of went, oh, I'm going to do this every week now, or I'm going to do this once a month.
I don't know. I think, do you know what? I think the whole thing was, I do remember videos that I thought were brilliant. So I remember I had one down, it was Danger Mouse at Cademuir, and I thought I'd made it because I got a couple of 100 views. You know, it was like, you know, if you search Danger Mouse and Cademuir, it was up there. And at the time I remember thinking, you are on it, boy. You have nailed this. I watched that video about a year ago, and it's one of the most unwatchable videos I've seen in my life. The audio is terrible. The image is awful. The riding is it's all right.
Worth a couple of 100 views anyway.
Overall, as a video, it was just pants. So my quality has increased.
What camera were you using back then? What made
Now, this is really interesting. So I remember when I'd first done this, I'd gone to do it on a budget. So actually, I couldn't tell you the name of the camera. It was one of these sort of knockoffs.
Yeah.
A knockoff for... No, I do remember, actually, it was an SJ cam.
Right.
SJ cam.
It's an Amazon special that they're all advertising.
A bit of an Amazon special. And it just was appalling. So I think probably the videos started to get better, actually, when the technology got a bit better.
Yeah.
Got a kind of GoPro Hero and then got into the GoPro train, and things improved quite rapidly at that point.
Well, they do when the technology comes to you, and it's less wires and less batteries and less, things. I mean, like things like bike lights now. Bike light now, it's got battery in it. The battery's on your bar, and I remember the days where you had to put a battery in your back or something like that, your backpack and stuff. So, media stuff's the same way. We've got wireless everything now. We've got automatic uploads and stuff like that. That wouldn't have been prevalent on your shaky Amazon camera, but
No.
Today, I mean, yeah, it's actually really easy to get content. I think what it takes is the will to do it.
Yeah,
as well.
100%.
I mean, we were talking earlier about motivation. It can be anything from the weather to actually how complex your kit is.
Yep.
I went on holiday to Livigno this year and took like 2 or 3 hours of footage of some amazing riding and what have you. And Jen, my girlfriend, says, I'm not doing that again on holiday because you've not done anything with it. But it's sitting there, it's amazing, and it's all 4K footage, like blinding trails and what have you. So I'm a little bit in awe of people who can ride the local trails and find the motivation to just go and just do that. I mean, I had this epic big week-long journey and I can't be asked doing anything with it. So yeah, kudos.
Do you know what though? Maybe give yourself a break, because I think sometimes actually that can be harder in itself. So I had a similar situation this year. It was the first time I'd gone abroad mountain biking. I went to Ainsa, and the quantity of footage made it really difficult, because if you've ridden your local trails, it's quite easy. You think, well, I've got 5 trails to showcase in a 20-minute vid, and I'll just pick up the high. It's quite straightforward. Yeah. In Spain we were out riding for 5 or 6 hours a day, so to turn 5 or 6 hours of riding into a 15-minute edit requires quite a lot of thought and a lot of re-watching all that footage. So yeah, not straightforward.
Yeah, the time. Well, you broke that trip up into multiple days and stuff like that, as I remember, and I've seen that done by other content creators as well. I think every trail we went down was amazing, and they were, and from top to bottom, the gondola going across, like just it's like 40 minutes of riding, and it's not the thing that I do, so I'm not about to sit down and break it into 5 videos because I don't want to do that. So it's really tricky, but it's not the thing I do. It is the thing you do, and did it become Street Pigeon, or was it Street Pigeon first?
It was Street Pigeon first, but Street Pigeon actually was before it was a YouTube channel. It was a racing team.
Right, okay.
And before it was a racing team, it was just a drunken night in Torridon.
Well, so, I'll tell you what, I kind of know this story, but I want to hear it again. But I'm going to leave it to last.
You please do. Please do.
And I'm not going to, for anybody who's listening, I'm not going to put a timestamp on it. You're going to have to go through all of this, and we'll talk about why Street Pigeon at the end. But if there's anything that keeps you on tenterhooks, it should be it started with a drunken night in Torridon. So that's pretty cool, man. That's a good start. But I mean, it's Street Pigeon Racing Team. I'd actually forgot about that. So what's people's reaction to that name? So I've seen we've shared a couple of anecdotes about criticism of just that on your YouTube channel. Can you share a couple of anecdotes on that, or a couple of comments
on Street Pigeon? Well, people. I think people are just confused by it, to be honest. There's a lot of people say, but why are you called that? And it's funny because I do now reflect and think, because I suppose when I started making the videos, there was no intent or even imagined that it would actually become something that had any sort of success or relative success. So to be honest, I was just put the name up because it was quite funny. And then the channel sort of started getting going, and at the point at which you kind of realise, oh, maybe this is a bit of a daft name and I could have done something that was quite specific, I thought, Well, it's bad now because it's probably my brand.
You had likes and comments.
So rather than drop the Street Pigeon, I added MTB to the end and got a logo done in Wix. I thought, well, do you know what? I'll stick with it. So I can see advantages to such a unique name as well.
I guess. I mean, you can't make. I mean, you've seen this obviously with a video that you'd done for my other job, is that algorithm from a point of view of even name change or title changes and stuff like that can bring your likes. I mean, because you rely to a certain extent on the monetization of that as well. I mean, if you're a content creator or anybody that's, I mean. I'll say it's the arts with a small a, isn't it? I mean, really. I mean, it's not nothing going out and committing to that. You're one day off a week or whatever. You know, when you got your family, you got your job, you got your extracurricular stuff. It's a hell of an undertaking. So that little bit of help or that little bit of monetization or that little bit of that audience, that click and subscribe that we all hear everybody say, does it make, the monetization? Does it make a difference?
Yeah, it does. I mean, I think, you know, we can maybe discuss it in more detail, but I would suppose like where I'm at with the channel now, there's monetization, there's support, there's sponsorship. Those things can get a bit blurred at times. So there's various things going on, and I suppose for me, you know, I'm trying to just create something. I've never seen this as an earner. It's not something that's going to buy me days off and do things. But however, I've always been at the stage, well, look, if I can get this to break even and I'll allow it to take me places, take me adventures, then that's pretty good. So that's what I'm kind of aiming for. But absolutely, the monetization does make a difference because actually, if you start to, it's a funny one. So I would be riding bikes anyway. So I suppose I've got to remember that.
Sure.
But if you were to really sort of look at it and break it down almost like from a business point of view, it's the cost. So you've got hardware to buy. So let's just like total basics. You're going to need to spend about £1,000 on a laptop or a PC. That's a minimum. Camera's what, 400 or 500 quid. You might have licenses for editing stuff, another 200 or 300 quid. You then got fuel. Now that is very dependent on how far you want to travel. And then also, you know, each video probably takes somewhere between around 5 to 15 hours to edit. So actually, when you start to break it down, it's a fairly costly hobby. And actually, I think without the monetization, without the support, without those things, I don't think I would be able to do it to either the same quality or variety in which I do it. So yeah, it's really, really important.
So what would you, when you say variety, what does that mean to you as a creator? What do you think your obligation is to your subscribers? Why do you call it variety?
Ooh, that's a really
trail
good one.
Type, destination.
I always like this because listeners, Alan is a friend of mine, and what I like about Alan, he's quite a sort of deep thinker, and that's quite a philosophical question. I'm wondering on what level to answer it. Do you know what? I suppose, look, it's weird. There's definitely two aspects to making YouTube videos. Part of it is absolutely all about me, and I mean that in a very selfish thing of actually, I like to record the things I've done to be able to look back on from a sort of biographical point of view. But part of it is undoubtedly about creating content for the viewer. And that can get a bit blurred sometimes. So I suppose variety, when I think of that for the viewer, what I want to do is I want to make sure that it's not just Jamie rides a golf trail each week. I think that would just be incredibly boring for a viewer. But also variety in the sense for me, you know, mountain biking for me, I'm sure for a lot of people, is an escape. It's a thing I look forward to. So I want to keep it fun. It needs to, for me, to feel like an adventure. So variety for me is getting to those different places, doing slightly different things. And it's something I suppose as the channel's developed, I'm kind of more comfortable with doing. I think when you're starting a channel, it can easily be in the side of what does the viewer want. Whereas I think I'm getting experienced enough and confident enough that I'm making videos about what I want to do as well.
Yeah, still there must be a certain amount of pressure, whether it's realised or not. I mean, the can you maybe say something to the what pressure looks like? So I mean, you know, I asked you what variety looked like, so let's go down that rabbit hole. What pressure means to you? I mean, I guess
pressure.
when people have got jobs or hobbies, pressure means different things. Is it pressure to create? Is it pressure to please? Is it is it your own? You said about selfishness, about doing it selfishly, and I think that's okay because if it's something you love. But the pressure comes in different guises as well. I
mean, there's all sorts. The pressures come from the expectations, I think, and there are different people involved in those expectations. I think the sort of most dangerous pressure, and I think the one that you probably don't think of when you get into this, is the sort of pressure sort of caused by the platform that you're on. So, I think at the start of this year, I mean, there's a really good example. At the start of this year, I was putting out videos once a week. I think I was on definitely the drive, grow Street Pigeon MTB, get the subscribers, get the views, and that pressure to go weekly and that pressure to put that when I've kind of looked back on that very much comes from the platform of YouTube. Now I won't bore people, but when you put YouTube videos up, you've got analytics. Analytics are just going to be there to sort of guide you on how many views you're getting, who's watching, etc., etc. But the platform itself, that whole drive, it's very fed into encouraging you to do more. So, when you get a video out and it goes well and it maybe gets additional views or longer average view duration, you get all these nice green arrows, and it does, like, I think even in the mobile app there's a little sort of like animated like fireworks, and it's like, you're doing great.
Yeah.
And then of course if you put a video out that doesn't do as well, it's very sort of doom orientated. It's like you're not doing well. But I think that the pressure there is you can start to value your videos in terms of that. And it's a funny thing because actually it can be very contrary to your actual beliefs. I'll give you an example of that. So one of my favourite videos that I've done recently, I've got a lot of these, and I call it the inverse sort of like views effect. Whenever I have a video that I really like, it tends to do quite badly. But I did a video recently up Stukaroin, and it was it was just a wee mountain bike adventure into the wilds, not particularly fast riding, not fancy riding, but it was just being out in Scotland on what felt like an adventure. And I even went a bit risky. I put some sort of folky style music in it. There was drones. It was just, it's one of those videos that, from a sort of selfish point of view, I watch back and I go, I'm really chuffed with that. I love the feeling from it. Now that's probably sitting currently at about 5,000 views. Okay. The best video I've ever had is my Fox pants review. Now, I need to put this out. I don't think it's a bad video, and I think as far as review videos go, it's pretty good. But the point I'm trying to get at is, if I listened or based how well things were on the YouTube, the data that came back to me, it would be telling me basically, see your adventure video.
Yeah.
It's not very good. Mm-hmm. See your pants video. It's brilliant. Make more pants videos. Now, the risk is, as a creator, if you go down the path and you're not strong enough and you don't have your own value, then I could have become a pants video man. Whereas that's not what I'm really got into. Do you see what I mean?
Well, the monetization might be a bit better. That's interesting though, because you, whether you like it or not, you're a pretty humble guy. You will be emulated now, and you must get people going. How do I? What's the thing? Because in 2018, I mean, this all was a thing in 2018. Of course it was, but it's nowhere near the amount of content.
No, absolutely not.
So I mean, maybe you were lucky in that way that you're able to look at it like that, because the pressure of maybe like you say, your 40s now, it's like the pressure of a younger guy, or a younger content creator wanting to emulate somebody, because I think that's an easy path to look at success, try and emulate that. So what advice would you give to somebody that was trying to do that? Would you recommend that? Because there's influence. So I've been a musician for years, played in bands and what have you, and we weren't a cover band, we wrote our own stuff. But you can hear Leonard Skinner and Led Zeppelin and all these old 60s, 70s, 80s rock bands in our music. Doesn't mean we're copying them, But it also didn't mean we had the success that they had either. So what do you think about that? Inspiration, aspiration, the difference between these two things, and have you spoke to anybody about that?
So that is that's one of the things. So going back, I remember when I started out. I mean, I in many ways have probably tried to emulate probably trail rider. He was really influential for me, and I've tried to take bits of what he did well and do that myself. And part of that is just being honest and being fairly humble. I think he does that really, really well. And he was always really helpful to me. I used to ping Andrew loads of questions, and he didn't need to do it, because he could have just thought, here's someone that's,
Sure,
actually,
yeah.
I was going to say here's someone that could be competition, but actually probably saw some of my videos and thought, this guy's hopeless. But he was really nice. So he gave me loads of advice. And actually, in the last year or two, that's probably like quite a common theme of the Instagram messages I get, are people saying, look, I'm starting a channel, or can you look at my vid? What could I do? And I think that the sort of, the major advice I do give out now is, and it's a personal thing, is I think first and foremost you need to be clear about what it is. So are the videos about you? Are they about a sort of you sharing your story, and are you going to get the value out of that, or are you doing it just for views and business? Because I almost feel like you need to pick one or the other, because to get them to have those two things running together is pretty difficult. But yeah, I feel for people that are starting a YouTube channel now, because it's so hard to get views, and there's such a pressure there to go down that route of algorithm and clickbait and all those things. But from a personal experience, they are not things that are going to make you in any way happy. It's tough.
Yeah, I'd actually forgotten. I looked the other day at Andrew's channel, and I forgot how long he'd actually been doing it.
Yeah, he was. I think the thing. He was absolutely an early adopter, and he did it really well, and he's got a really loyal following based off that. And I'm really happy with the quality of my videos and stuff, but the likelihood of me ever getting to a channel the size of Andrew's is less, and it is because I started later, and I'm not, I don't see that as a bad thing. I'm not annoyed about that. But what I do think of is, if I started my video channel now, I don't think it would see the light of day.
Yeah, I think I know a little about it, but I just think it seems impenetrable now that unless you had like a really honest and solid USP, if you're honest with yourself rather about what you're doing, like you say, that's great advice, and a really good USP, you could maybe break through in a hobby like ours is fairly small, but because of the dynamic nature of it, everybody's got a GoPro, and everybody, and I used to joke about it as when I saw people on Spooky Woods in Glentress with the GoPro, it's like, that's what we need on YouTube, isn't it? Another run of Spooky Woods. And I think it's but that's not a criticism, because you said the way you started this up is you just wanted to go and film what you were doing, and I totally get that. And I break out the GoPro sometimes. I do something, and then I'll leave it on the computer. I'm not doing it. It's not the thing that I do, but it just looks impenetrable. But yeah, I mean, you're sort of Scottish YouTube community guy. There's a couple. There's Laura and Tam, and there's Andrew, and there's you and what have you. But you guys have done videos together, and done a couple of collaborations and stuff like that. So that seems like a good little. It seems like a community anyway that can get behind each other, even if it's just now and again, and maybe share a wee bit of best practice and stuff like that. And is that a thing? Or I'm sure I've seen you work with almost everybody. Yeah,
so that's what I would say. The community is really, really nice. I mean, I think, we all love doing the same thing, and I think part of it we do all want each other to do well. Why wouldn't you? I think it's not like we're talking about big business here, and it's not generally our kind of livelihoods, although someone like, I think Andrew, he obviously has, it's a bigger thing for him. But yeah, I mean, I think it is a really supportive kind of like community, and I think also just, I know as a person, I've always sort of just been along the philosophy of sort of treat others as how you'd like to be treated type of thing. So maybe mountain biking just tends to actually attract people that are relatively nice, although I'm sure, as in all sports, you get a real mix of people.
Yeah, I've been riding for a long time, and people have got different motivations. I've seen some incredibly selfish heuristics out there, and some beautiful people, but I don't think that's mountain biking. I think it's people. I think if you were a canoeist, people would be like that if they were out canoeing, walking their dog, driving. People are just people, right? They've got different motivations, and they're on different journeys.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
At least if you can relate to the people that you're kind of riding alongside, if you like, I use that as a metaphor, YouTube channels and what have you, then that's good. That can deliver a certain amount of assurance rather that it's a thing worth doing as well. But I mean, have you ever thought about just jacking it in? Or is it really up there in your sort of, I really want to keep doing this, or is it because a lot of things that I do that I love, and I know a lot of people that are in, quite high end hobbyists and different stuff, and they're looked up to in whatever whatever sort of, and I use this word advisedly, minor celebrity sort of status. And they could take it or leave it. Is that where you are with this, or do you feel you're that 51% towards? Nah, this is what I'm doing. I'm cool with it.
Yeah. So it's funny. At the start of this is 2022. I'm sorry, I'm getting my years. COVID really messed up the year calendar. Eh? So at the start of this year, I genuinely had a bit of a wobble, and I thought, I'm going to jack this in, because it just was not making me happy. I think that's the fundamental, because this, You've got to look back at your kind of motivations for doing things, aren't you? And at the beginning, it was just about fun, and it should be about fun. And at the start of this year, definitely, I was just looking at it all wrong. I'd definitely fallen into that trap of, I need views, I need subscribers, and I couldn't even remember why. I think it's maybe part of the platform addiction. You're constantly informed by YouTube about how well you're doing or how not so well. And yeah, at the start of this year, I was literally, it was videos every week, and I was just going out to film for the sake of filming. And it's not saying that I wasn't enjoying some of those rides and enjoying some of those edits, but it wasn't fun anymore. And I can't remember when, it was some point, it was maybe about Easter or something, I can't actually remember. I just decided, right, this is, if you're going to take this approach, you're going to be done by the end of the year. You're not going to enjoy this anymore. And I started just going to this philosophy. I would try and do videos every couple of weeks. Again, I'm not sure why I chose every couple of weeks, but I suppose, there probably was a bit of anxiety about if I actually stopped producing content as regularly, YouTube just might not show it. But I was basically, I'm going to aim for every couple of weeks. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do variety. I'm going to make sure I'm going to different places, different style edits, just to bring the fun back. And it was the best thing I ever did, because then, bizarrely enough, the views started shooting up. I had a really good run after I took the pressure off myself. And I think that was largely because there's a really sort of simple metric that I think YouTube uses to work out whether it's going to promote your stuff. And actually part of that is, do your subscribers actually tune in the first 3 hours? So I think the trouble, if you're doing weekly content, for some subscribers, that is just too much. I mean, I'm sure even my wife doesn't want to see me all the time. I'm sure my viewers my viewers don't want to see me all the time. Yeah. So actually, by doing it a bit less, then when people saw my videos come up, I'm not watched that for a while. And he's in a new place. I'm going to click on that. So that was the best thing that I kind of really did. But yeah, in terms of moving forward, at the moment I feel I like it at the moment. It seems to have a good balance. It's a positive thing in my life. But I definitely think, I could see a point where I'll just lose interest, or it just doesn't provide me with that positivity, and I will just stop. Yeah. But it doesn't feel like I know when that'll be yet, because I feel like I have a lot of adventures to do. I'm sort of only scratching the surface of mountain biking, I feel, at the moment. And because I'm busy, I've got a job, I've got a family, there's only so much you can do. But in the future, I would love to do some proper adventures on the bike. And, if I'm going to do that, I would love to record that, to share that and encourage other people to do it as well. I
think that's a decent place to be, though, knowing that you can drop something. I mean, it seems very, pragmatic in the negative, but I think that's really good. When I make decisions like that I could just drop this. I'm not going to do it, but I'm okay in a place where if it just went away tomorrow, it would be okay. And I think you can only really do that with things that you're in control of, and things that you want to do. I mean, that platform pressure is pain in the ass. I know. Just even for my other job, and I'm posting and promoting the things that I do and what have you, and then I don't do it for a day, and it says your fans will engage with you more if you post more often. And it's like you say, this animated guy comes up, does a wee fist pump, and and you're like, oh, right, is that a thing, is it? And then you go looking for content, and I think that's when you start to, unless you're a full-time content maker, like you say, then you go out every Friday, and you'll make it because it tells you to make it.
Yeah.
The algorithm tells you to make it, the little animated guy tells you to take it, all your heuristics that are baked into that tell you to make it. And that's not a great place to be.
It's not a good place to be at all, actually. And I think that's one of the dangers of social media these days, isn't it? That is the way it's going. It's just this exponential like production of content to feed this appetite that doesn't ever seem to.
Yeah, I think so. How many subscribers you got now?
It's just come up for 7,100.
So I mean, a good chunk of those people will be watching regularly. Naive to think that they're all doing that, obviously, but they expect you to be present, almost on. You know, it's like watching a series on Netflix, new episode every Wednesday. There'll be some of them will be like, oh, it's a new Street Pigeon video today, and they need you to be present. But the irony is, you're not. You're present there. You're not present everywhere else. You're putting. So what you're doing is you're for instance, Jamie and I did a video together up in Scorgui. So we got up at 5 o'clock in the morning. We drove up there, stopped for lunch in Dunkeld, drove up, went to Glenfeshie, sorted everything out, get all your gear together, checked the bikes, checked the gear, went up the mountain, came down the mountain, went to Glenfeshie, went for a dip, put all the bikes away, did this, and then drove all the way down. I mean, that was a full day. That was a 20-hour day. Film loads of stuff, and then it's like a month before you see it, because that amount of footage and stuff. So you're not present in all those other ways for the people that want you present. So like you say, you're not at work. That's a given. It's your day off. So does Ari and the kids want you to be there? Well, you're not there, are you? And then you've got a 20-hour day. You come back, you still got to wash. She sorry, Ari, this isn't your job. She gets to wash your socks, right? And you're washing your bike and stuff, and you're knackered on a Saturday. You're not present there, but there's a pressure from the outside to be present when people go, it's Monday, it's time for Jamie's video, and it's not going to be the majority hanging on your every word, but those people are there. That's I'm a little bit in awe of people that can do that. But it earns you an award this year as well, didn't it? So tell us a little bit about that. What's that?
Well, Developing Mountain Bike in Scotland, they have a sort of yearly awards, Scottish Mountain Biking Awards, and the category. Well, this is the second time they've run it. So I think it was 2019 was the last awards, because then we had 2 years sitting out. So in 2019 they introduced a mountain bike vlogger of the year.
Did Andrew win that?
Andrew won it. So I was because I got shortlisted. I think it was Andrew, myself, and Grizzly Monroe.
Yeah.
So it was incredible. So I was absolutely over the moon to get shortlisted, and then this year, managed to get shortlisted again with Laura and Tam and the Contour Collective, and went up to Aberdeen. You were there, Alan. So it was a lovely event, because we're kind of sitting at the table ready for the awards, and I suppose I knew that I'd had a pretty good year this year. I'm confident in the stuff that I'm producing, but at no points did I think it was a given, because actually Laura and Tam and the Contour Collective had both done. They've both got their own unique things going on, which I think are as valuable as the stuff that I'm doing. So then, when the name came up, it was very exciting. And then the business that you're involved in also got an award. So it was like a wee award table. It was such a special moment. And you look more surprised than me.
Yeah, well, I was. Yeah, I went long into the night. I think we got to bed about 3 o'clock that morning. We'll say less about that. Well, that was great fun. Laura and Tam, big shout out to them. They were great company that night. That was lots of fun.
It was.
But I thought actually that it's. That was 3 very different content creators there.
Completely, yeah.
The Contour Collective is a way different thing to what you and Laura and Tam are doing. And actually, and their style is not adjacent to yours. It's way different. It's much more. I mean, your content's really relatable. I think that's actually why people like it, because there's no airs and graces, and I don't think you go to as much effort as perhaps others to edit out your personality and your flaws and your when you've got a lack of chops on a trail or something, but also your successes, you're happy to keep them in as well. I think that's great. I think with somebody with 7,000 subscribers and getting an average of 3, 4, 5,000 views within like a decent time, it'd be really easy to build an ego with that. Because I've seen you fall off a dozen times in videos.
Yeah.
I've seen that, you know, I've seen you stop on features, and I've seen you ride them, and I've seen you fist pumping because you've managed to do something for the first time, you know. And I think that's great. It puts across something. I mean, relatable's thrown around a lot with a lot of vloggers and stuff like that. But I think that's self-evident if you went back and looked at that you're able to laugh at your failures or your areas for improvement.
Oh yeah, and there's so many. I mean, I think it would be wrong not to.
That's a good view.
It would be wrong not to actually take note of them because they're. But you know, that's a confidence thing as well. Because I remember when I used to first make the videos, you're almost scared to show your full personality or show those moments. And again, we were talking about some of the risks of social media. That's the other thing as well. I mean, it's funny. I'm the most comfortable I've been with my videos now because I think my videos are the most honest they've been now. Because I used to question. I was like, oh, should I put that bit in where I become cowardly? Should I show that bit? Because like people might not follow me because they'll think well, listen, you know me. And then of course what you do is you kind of you do sort of like experiment with edits and you put those things in and then you realise, oh, actually people do still watch. Or in fact, actually, you've had a few comments saying, well done for keeping that in. So you become more confident at being yourself, and that's a nice place to be in, you know. So I mean, again, I suppose if you were giving anyone advice about doing these styles, if they're into MTB vlogs, so just try it and you know, be yourself. Don't try and live up to some paradigm or idea of what it should look like. Try and be yourself.
I think people appreciate
well, unless you've got a terrible personality, actually. Do you know, if you've got an awful personality, probably don't be yourself.
Actually, what I was going to say there is people really appreciate authenticity, but actually there's probably a section of humanity that shouldn't be as authentic as others.
Yeah, probably.
I think generally speaking, if you're if we're talking about the right side of like narcissism and psychosis, then authenticity and your honesty in what you're doing, it's good. But I think that's I think that's really good. And I think that comes across no end. But I mean, you'll know that because you read the comments, right? And like I've heard 100 sort of people that are successful on any social media platform. It's just it's like post and go, like just never look, but you look and you answer. And I've seen. You know, there's 100 times I've wanted to jump in and defend you on a technical thing. Like, that's my friend. Stop fucking with him, you know. You've had some pushback. So can you tell us a little about maybe some anecdotes on that and how it's maybe affected you in the thought shot? Because you're obviously over it, that kind of stuff, you know, and you can take it, as I say, it's tomorrow's chip paper. Showing my age a wee bit, but it's tomorrow's chip paper. So how do you deal with that in the short term, and what's some examples maybe? Well,
this is a funny one. Yeah. So what I must say first of all is actually, in terms of the positive feedback again I get versus negative comments, I actually do pretty well. So I suppose probably that helps me in terms of you know, if 50% of my comments were "this is awful," there would be good grounds to think that it might actually be awful. And I think, you know, I work in public sector. We work with a lot of people, so you know, I'm used to getting people's views. And actually, I know from my actual life experience out of YouTube that you will always get negative comments. It's just make sure they're not like 50%. If it's 5%, 1%, you're all right. But do you know what, the YouTube comments, they've never upset me too much. I think I'm quite able to realise that, you know, fundamentally they're not really that important. And also just knowing that there are people out there who just want to make a comment.
Sure. Yeah.
Just a negative one. So I get a lot of enjoyment out of the negative comments. I've got to admit, because it's my approach is always, if there's a negative comment, right, there's always the temptation to like fire back in there and say, do you know what, you just let rip. But it's funnier, I find, to be really, really pleasant back. And the reason I do that is you might think it's because I'm a nice guy. It's not really. It's because I know that by being really pleasant back, we'll just wind them up so much more.
Yeah, this is the classic "don't feed the trolls."
Yeah. So I mean, what are the sort of comments? Some of they're just one came up. It's funny. I was on my YouTube studio, the sort of analytics the other day. I don't know. There must have been a glitch but it brought up all these comments from 3 years ago that I hadn't responded to, and I was a bit gutted because I always that's one of my things. I'm like, I will respond to every comment. I just feel that, you know, if people are watching, they're taking time to comment, at least respond. And it just seemed to be a spate of like negative ones as well. And it's stuff like, great video, music.
Right, yeah, I've seen that before. Seen that on
and
your
I was
channel,
like,
yeah.
right, you know, just sort of stuff like that. But I mean, you just, what can you do?
You like a bit of jungle though, don't you?
I love
like
a bit of drum and bass. I love a bit of drum and bass,
yeah.
I love a bit of jumper. But it's also like, I always think as well, you know, what are you really complaining about? Basically, I've gone out of my way. I've spent 30 hours putting out some free content that you don't have to watch. And really, did you think that, like, first of all, I actually care about your feedback? Because I don't mean that in I don't value as a human, but actually, if you just don't like it, you need to
one
watch
has a choice,
it.
right?
Like, you just go and watch something else. So that's about it. The only other sort of random sort of the music seems to be a bit contentious. The other random one, which is a bit more complex, I've had the odd one about, and maybe this is something to debate just now, the whole idea of trails, the whole idea of potentially secret trails, the whole idea of are YouTubers bringing all the people to the secret trails and sort of ruining things. That's an interesting one, because it's, well, is it a complex topic? I don't think it's particularly complex, but I can understand why people might have a viewpoint on it.
Yeah, I think it's got a certain amount of objectivity and a certain amount of subjectivity, depending on where you're riding and who's building trails and whether they've got permission and all that stuff. If it's an illegal trail, you know, there is a culture in mountain biking. I've found that people have this toxic ownership of them, you know, which is just ass backwards at the end of the day. We're lucky up here in Scotland with the access rights and what have you. You know, it affords us certain rights, but it doesn't mean we can just do what we like. It is a topic for another day, I think. But I totally. But the heuristics of people taking ownership of things is just human nature, and I think that again, it's not mountain bikers. I think again, if they were in a different hobby and a different thing, they would take ownership of the same things. I can totally understand it given the right circumstances that it's valid, but I think for the most part in Scotland, it's probably, I probably agree with that it's probably not valid. It's a matter of conversation. You know, it's not valid objectively. It's a matter of conversation with those people, but it's difficult to find those people in the first instance. You can't find somebody that built an illegal trail and said, do you mind if I film a video on this? But they will totally find you after you've ridden it.
Absolutely. Do you know what, as you're saying that, I've just remembered one of the best comments I got. One of the negative comments was, this video is crap, Street Pigeon is a rubbish name, and I hate pigeons. And do you know what? Sorry, it just came to me because I remember just getting that. I was like,
threat.
I just don't know how to dissect this. I mean, again,
did you bullet point it, or was it just one sentence?
No, it was just one very angry sentence. I just thought, wow. I mean, to unpick that, who's sitting there though at home thinking, I've got to get this off my chest.
How do I put this together?
I don't like your video. I don't like the name of your channel. And in actual real life, I don't even like pigeons.
But he didn't say anything about the music, right?
No, I didn't.
All right, okay. That might have thrown that in with the shit video, to be honest with you. Oh, dear me. Yeah, I mean, pitfalls and pressures, and of course there will have been a certain amount of, and will continue to be a certain amount of naivety with things like that, land access, like monetising that as well.
Yeah.
You know, because I mean, if you really want to go down to you know, armpit deep in it, there's probably a contentious issue there, and landowners and trail builders. So there's certainly be ongoing a certain amount of naivety and just not thinking. You can't think of everything.
No, you can't.
You know? The sure thing is that if somebody is bothered by something, product that you put out, content that you put out, whether it be music, the name, they'll find you.
Yeah.
So if you want to interact with those people, if they want to interact, all you can do is keep putting the content out, be respectful and authentic with it, and they'll find you. But it seems like they're in the minority.
Oh, they really are. Yeah, and I think that's something to hold on to. I do think that's just life. I think generally most people are pretty good.
Yeah.
But there's always some.
Well, I used the word advisedly earlier. The words advisedly. You're a bit of a minor celebrity now. So I work pretty heavily in Glentress, and I've bumped into you a couple of times and what have you, and I've been in uniform and stuff like that. And I remember, I don't know why I remember this. Somebody's waiting, so loads of people wave at me through the trail centre because we're quite ubiquitous in there. And I was standing talking to you one day, and somebody waved at me, and I was like, oh, I don't know who this is, like, you know. And I'd been discussing how I've just given up human people now. I'll just go, I'm really sorry, buddy, I forgot your name, and they'll tell you. And I was about to say it, and somebody walked up and went, oh, you're the Street Pigeon guy. And I was like, oh, wait a second, what's that all about? I mean, are we is this happening to us on a regular basis, or when you go away, and how's the geographical spread of people that recognise you?
Yeah. It's actually it's not bad actually. We have an ongoing joke with my friend Joe.
He's got a rye grin on his face just now. He looks well impressed with himself.
Every time we go out, this is his joke that someone will say, all right, Street Pigeon. So actually I think it is quite geographically wide, and I can go to most places and normally someone will say, all right, Street Pigeon, which is really nice. But I think really it's because although geographically Scotland, well, we think of it as being like quite large distances in the places ride. The community that is feeding into like YouTube videos and stuff is still quite a small community. You know, it's not a big population. But yeah, it's actually really nice. People are pretty friendly. The most awkward one I had though is, and I won't say the name of this person, but and this is, you know, Joe was loving this because so Joe always slags me off because he's like, everywhere we go, we meet someone and someone says, all right, Street Pigeon. And we were at the Golfie and we're pedaling up the Golfie, and we ended up pedaling alongside a sort of a female enduro racer. She's quite famous. So I was like, I was just so impressed to be with this female enduro racer because I really look up to her. So I was like, don't make a fool of yourself, like, just ask good questions. And I was like, well, when's the moment where I can say, oh, could I get a wee selfie? Because I just, you meet these riders and you do look up them. So anyway, that was going on. I was like, just in awe of this person because they are a great rider. Anyway, we stopped sort of halfway up the climb. So there's me, there's Joe, there's this brilliant rider, and this wee fella comes up the road on his bike and he's cycling towards us both. So I'm not really concentrating because I'm like, when am I going to ask for this selfie? So anyway, this wee lad stops, looks at us both and goes, Street Pigeon, how are you doing? And I was like, oh, no. So I'm almost like trying to like sort of like point my head like, no, like the person that actually done something noteworthy on the bike, you should be saying. So Joe,
so who was it?
The person.
They're not going to listen to this, are they? Who was it?
Katie Winton.
Right, okay, yeah.
So I was like, so
a local personality.
A local person. So I actually got recognised over someone who's actually decent in biking. That was
she won't hold that against you.
She won't.
That's funny though.
But yes, I mean, it just shows you though, isn't it? Like, so yeah, the I guess the Street Pigeon thing is out there. People do meet me, but actually, it's really nice because most people just normally say, "Listen, well done, thanks for the content," and yeah, I've had a lot of really positive interactions, which is nice.
Yeah. I mean, your silhouette now is of that. So one of your sponsors is Endura, so we see you coming.
Well, they're not a sponsor. Endura have sent me some. Thank you very much, Endura. Endura have sent me some nice kit to ride around in.
Supporter,
yeah. Because I think sometimes that line between supporter and sponsor.
You're absolutely right.
But marketing Endura have sent me through some nice stuff.
So they'll see you coming. In your blue gear.
And Paprika at the moment.
Are you?
The Paprika.
All right, okay.
Watch out, folks. Yeah, it's.
You heard it here first.
Probably more striking than the blue, in fact. Yeah.
I can't get the image out of your mind after we'd gone up the Golfie before we knew Storm Armwood had disappeared the place, and you had a blue helmet on, blue jersey, blue gloves, blue trews, and blue shoes, and your bike I think was.
Yep,
blue.
I think I had a blue and purple helmet on as well, didn't I? And blue and purple shoes.
Yeah. It was a sight to behold.
It was next level.
It was next level. Oh, it's great. Well, they say when you're doing videos and stuff, wear bright clothing, right? It was but it's good stuff, and it must be nice to be. Do your supporters kind of approach you, or do you?
It's a real mix actually. So I've definitely very consciously communicated with companies and sort of shared with what I'm doing and try to find out if they'd be interested in sort of sponsorship or supporting. So some of it is just you having to go and graft and actually find contacts and get in touch with people. But then again, there are just other people who get in touch with you. I because I'm where I am though, I get a lot of some of the stuff I get sent now. It should make you feel good, but so I can tell you. So things at the moment.
An example.
So what seems to be they're really pushing me. It's a company. I forget the name of the company. They've got a fine selection of yoga pants. They're very keen for me to wear some yoga pants and do a video on their yoga pants. Now, I suspect...
This is the Fox Pants video coming to get you.
I'm hoping it is a bot, because if not, why have they just not looked at my Instagram videos? So that's one of them. The next one, which I get a couple of months, is there's a jewellery company. Again, you might see in future videos some bling. Serious bling on. And actually a spate of recently is e-bikes from China, sort of street e-bikes that look dangerous. And there's no other way to say it. So it's, although it's flattering, it could be easy to, how would you say, I think in the interests of being honest and not going down those routes, there's some products that even if it was financially beneficial to me, I will not be promoting on account of my dignity and honesty.
Well, in terms of equipment, actually, I maybe this is linked to giving people advice. So, what about your filming kit then? So, not to go too deep into the technical nature of it. So So your videos come across high quality. So let's limit it to maybe what's your POV camera? Yeah. What's your talking head camera if it's different? Yeah. What's you got a drone now as well? So what's that? And what's the what's the editing software you're using for those who are interested? And actually, I wanted to ask you, your that monetization. Not to get too deep into that again. Does that pay for a bit of that? Is it obviously you put your own money in? These are expensive things. I mean, a GoPro's £500 now if you're using it. So, you don't really have to answer that. I guess it's contributory. You made enough chat about that to I think everybody would realise that it's not propping you up, but it's really important. So I would say definitely. So if you add up all the monetization over the last 3 years, then it's about net covered. The expenses. So POV currently is a GoPro Hero 10. I'll not do too much detail as you said, but probably if you're wanting to get into this, the thing to know about GoPros is all GoPros are a bit flaky, but there are more flaky ones and less flaky ones. So if you want my history of GoPro in a nutshell, 7 good, 8 not so good, 9 awful, 10 great, 11 why would you do it if you've got a 10 anyway? So that's interesting.
In terms of sort of talking head cam, that really is depending on how. Sometimes it is just the Hero 10. Otherwise, it's a Sony ZV-1, which is a great little camera, and the drone is a DJI Mini 3 Pro. That's got to be that's been the most game-changing camera.
So that's the latest one, isn't it?
So the latest sub 250 gram.
Portrait?
Yes, it does. You can flip the camera to do portrait and landscape. It's sort of full. It's got lots of autonomous features. Follow me, which is really important on the bike. It's almost the perfect drone. It's pretty good.
Controversial. That drone that Andrew's got is some drone from away over
the Skydio 2.
The pond somewhere.
So if the Skydio 2 and the Mini 3 Pro had some sort of baby, that would be the perfect drone, because the Skydio's got some features that are brilliant. So not to bore people too much, but it's got like a beacon. So effectively, it will follow a GPS receiver. So you can just put a receiver in your pocket and it'll follow you. The DJI works off a kind of visual discrimination, which I don't think, which actually follows you kind of better, but is a bit more faffy because you've got like a controller and you've got to put that somewhere, and so they need a baby.
Yeah. Well, that sort of that visual discrimination thinking about iffy and the blue would help that in the header more than the paprika maybe, that kind of stuff. Like a white helmet is good for that. These little tips with these drones that are just visual follow me's and stuff like that. But I mean Andrew's not to yes, visit Andrew's channel by the way. It's amazing.
Absolutely.
But, and go look at his riding the highest trail in Europe. I think Jamie and I had a conversation the other week about it's probably the best drone footage of any mountain bike ride ever. The first 10 minutes of that video, I think it's called riding the highest rideable trail in Europe. I think it is.
Could be.
It's absolutely amazing.
Unreal.
Go watch it.
Andrew's still got it. That's what I love about Andrew. You know, it's like he's obviously he's paved the way, but some of the stuff he's doing now, it's just when he got that drone, that really like just took his channel to the next level. And,
I don't know that I'd ride that. That's
Andrew. I mean, I've ridden with Andrew a few times, and I know him relatively well. And he's a really humble guy, but he's a really solid rider. So you know, that is the one thing I'd say. You know, you can be easily lured into Andrew's vids to thinking stuff is quite straightforward. For me, is where he kind of shines is see if you're up on like the mountains with him and sort of blind stuff. His ability to ride blind stuff pretty fast whilst being in control. Because if you notice in his videos, he doesn't really come off much.
No, he's a very linear looking rider. He's very capable. Yeah,
very solid. Yeah. So his ability to just ride blind trails,
I would agree with that.
Really good.
Yeah. So I mean, he's so he has a partnership with Deviate.
Yeah,
and you are with Bird. You've had a Bird. Did you have a Bird before? Everybody was talking about the Bird before the Bird was the word, and then they got onto you, or are you? What's that partnership look like? That might be a good thing to talk about, just to if anybody's aspiring to make partnerships. Can you tell us a wee bit about how that came around without giving anything away? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I'll tell you what I can, but how did I go back? So yeah, I'd had for years I'd been riding a sort of a white enduro bike, and it was my friend had bought a Radon 29er enduro bike, and I remember I hopped on this 29er enduro bike and just thought, wow, this is 29ers for me, for my size, they just work. I just got on it. So I was going to buy a Radon, and they were out of stock. You couldn't get them, and I sort of found this sort of Bird brand, and I was like, these are like pretty good value for money, and all the geometry. I was looking for something with quite extended geometry like the Radon, and I bought a Bird, and just fell in love with it. Absolutely fantastic bike.
So the Aris?
It was Aris AM9, which was their sort of it was like a 150mm front and rear travel sort of, I guess you'd say maybe a sort of hardcore trail bike looking back, but yeah, really, really nice thing. And it's about that time that I was getting to the sort of the 1,000 subscribers mark on YouTube, which for any sort of budding YouTuber, I mean, the 1,000 is when you think, yes, I'm on it.
It's a nice round number.
It is indeed. And yeah, really, I think I initially got in touch with them about sort of being an ambassador, because that's the kind of thing that, I mean, I don't know how much detail you want to go into, but ambassador seems to be the starting point for anyone who's got any sort of minor influence. You're like a kind of ambassador, and then you might get supported, and then you might get sponsored. But really, over the sort of 3 years, we just kept a lot of contact with the guys at Bird and a bit of to and fro in, and it's just turned into, I suppose, sponsored as I am now would be the correct terminology for it.
Right. So we're jumping from supporter to a wee bit more.
Yeah, and it wasn't. It was more like I always felt that with Bird and the product, like I just really liked their bikes, and I actually really liked them, and I think I don't know what they'd say, but I suppose like any company, they will get a lot of people saying, oh, can I be an ambassador, and can I be a supporter, and can you give me a free bike type thing.
Sure, yeah.
And I think probably for a while they were probably sounding me out as much as anything, just to see how my sort of following and grew, and actually see if I was the type of person they would probably like to be on one of their bikes, and then eventually it kind of grew into them giving me a decent whack of like support. So yeah, it's really good. So yeah, been on Bird bikes now been riding Bird bikes for 4 years. Is that right? Yeah. Currently
Must
got their
be, if that's how 2018. Yeah.
Yeah. So currently got their full sus Aris 9 enduro bike and their hardtail, but I just think, they're a real, I just love it. They're a real little sort of, I guess, a success story, sort of British brand, making some really good bikes. Yeah. And it's been lovely to see them. Like, I feel that they're more apparent than ever. They've got more of a presence. I know Clark
Bike Bothy.
Bothy, yeah, because it used to be Benny Bike Bothy. It's Pitficky Bike Bothy and Lagan now as well.
Yeah.
I think there's a set of birds at Glencoe as well now.
Oh, right, okay.
Demo fleet.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just great to see them around. But quality.
I think
birds.
that's quite good. That authenticity thing again is where you bought your own bike first. You quite liked it, and then went and said, "I quite like this." That's good because I basically affiliate you with them now, if that's the right word. I'm like, that's what it is. I mean, you see it on the front of every video and what have you. You know, it's good. I think it's important for people to hear that when they're maybe they haven't been following you for long, and you see all these, you know, sponsors / supporters that they're not cynical. They're not paying you £1,000 to use their bike wash. They're giving you bike wash, some of them, and then you might get more support from a bike company where your capital outlay to offer the help to them would be too much for just to bear. You know, as a favour or as a thing to elevate your ego or your challenge, or the challenges you face with your channel and what have you. So that's really good. I think that's useful for people to hear, because having done a lot in club riding and sponsorship and stuff like that when I was back in retail. You're right. The letters come in, and they don't know how to write them, and they don't know how to justify their or quantify their desires. There isn't money for that kind of stuff now. So when people have got that, I think there needs to be an air of authenticity and an air of just that honesty. You know, I just think of Bird every time I see a Bird. I think that's the same bike as Jamie rides. It's just, you know. But
I think you have to be. I mean, as an actual human. I mean, that when people aren't authentic, that actually winds me up. So I was always from the start. I was like, I'm not going to go down that route because it's just, you know, the sickest products, the gnarliest trails, all those type of things that filter into what we do. I actually can't stand it, so it wouldn't be correct of me to then go down that route.
Well, that shines through in your channel, and I think that's why your subscribers are up there and your engagement's up there, and it's why I think what differentiated you and the awards, with the greatest respect to the other nominees, is that's why you're there. I mean, you're a friend of mine. I've done some videos with you before, but I still watch your channel. I can't watch everyone, but I still watch your channel.
Thanks, man.
It's because it's, you know, it's something different, and I like this. You're not too bad with clickbait. I've seen a couple of lapses.
Yeah, I'm not too bad. I tell you what, there was a few lapses at the start of 2022, but that's because that's where YouTube was going. There was this point in sort of late 2021, early 2022, when it seemed if you didn't put clickbait, it just didn't get viewed. But then the problem is, every creator then went clickbait to the point where I think everyone just became numb to it. But you know, when you think about it logically, I mean, you can't ride the gnarliest trail ever every week, right? Because is it genuinely the gnarliest trail ever? Are you really just you've had that much luck that every single week now for 18 months the trail you found is just a wee bit gnarlier?
Somebody joked with me about that. It's like you went through is this the stage?
Yes.
Is this the gnarliest trail in Scotland? Is this the gnarliest? Is this the best in? I remember looking at it and thinking, Jamie, we need to talk.
Oh, I know. Did I survive? I haven't done that yet, but that's one of my favourite titles, because I always thought, well, you must have made it to the edit.
Because you got it to the editing suite, Did I survive? That would be interesting. Yeah, somebody else presenting the video and go, no, you didn't. Now that's a video I'd be interested in watching. Yeah. So so it's been peaks and troughs, but I mean, what has been really, really good is the authenticity is a linear feature through that. You know, and you know how much of yourself you choose to expose, sort of, you know, from a skill point of view and ego, emotionally, like just relatably, it goes up and down with depending on what the activity you're doing, I guess. But it's right there, and it runs like a river through it. So
I appreciate that,
and I like it. I think it's the way to go. And I'm getting older as well, so this isn't a reflection on your content, but I'm less looking at the gnarly trails and what have you now as well. I like to see people enjoying what they're doing, and people are never so authentic as when they're doing that.
Yeah, for sure.
You're never more honest, never more authentic than when you're absolutely in the throes of doing something. You're absolutely love at the pinnacle of that sharp end. It's, you know, I love mountain biking. I love mountain biking here. I love mountain biking in this trail. The weather's good. I'm with good people, and that funnel, and I think that's what comes across. It's always two words actually. I need to
Not Holy Banjango, is it?
Holy Banjango. So that for me is still the ultimate expression of holy shit. What am I doing? Where am I? Who am I with? What are we doing? That for me, and so this is the Score GUI video that Jamie and I did. We were on a piece of single track, and it was so steep, and it was beautiful, and I don't think Jamie will mind me saying it. He had a bit of a moment, like, you know, we were out there, and he hadn't at that time ridden a lot of big mountains, and he'd just come out in the video, just holy Banjango, and like the comments on YouTube were great, and that for me is like that. It's like that involuntary sort of holy.
I mean, there's a bit of pressure there for me, and I know some religious people talk about this, don't they? Speaking in tongues, I sometimes feel that. Yeah. But the problem is, I said at the start of this, I work in education, so obviously I work in a primary school, so I am consciously very careful about the language, but. You know, if you're an adult, you probably have swearing in your repertoire, as I do, and quite often, you know, I'll be riding down a trail, and just my default is to say something that I probably wouldn't want a primary school child to hear, which is understandable. So there's something happens in my head which goes, oh, there's a swear coming, say something, and that's what happened with Holy Banjango. Yeah. Now, the downside of that, Alan, was I remember laughing at that because a few people had commented, they're like, you got to get like this is your merch, get your merch with Holy Banjango. Yeah. So there's quite a good joke about that. I then I thought, well, do you know what, I'm going to look into this. So I typed Banjango into the Urban Dictionary.
Oh. Can we?
Well, I mean...
Well, listeners, you can go and look that up.
Lady parts rhymes with granny.
All right, okay.
That's pretty much apparently what it means.
Well, I've got to defend Jamie here. Is that was a totally new word to him.
It was a new word in my brain. Banjango was invented.
Right. Okay.
It was a bit like a Rob Warner Holy Toledo.
Yeah.
This is much.
We can park the t-shirts for now. Yeah. I guess. Yeah. It was funny, and it for me it'll live forever.
Yeah. But that's going back to those rides. That you were right actually. I think you're talking about how long will I keep going. I'm hoping to keep going as long as there's like adventures like that, and I think what will be really nice if I do live another few decades, hope I will, you never know, but looking back, it'll be interesting to see how those types of riding changes over time. So I think it will. I think I will probably feel less inclined as I get older to just find a gnarly trail to chuck myself down. I think for me it's becoming more about just the sort of the wider experiences. So it'd be interesting to see how that develops over time, and looking back on those videos over time and seeing how that develops, it's cool.
Yeah. No, it's nice to have a body of work.
Yeah.
To look back, you know, and I'm talking like you can look right up at David Bowie, body of work to look back on.
Yeah.
Street Pigeon, Jamie Wallace, body of work. It's all relative. It's all your achievements.
Is he the guy that did that Fox Pants video?
Yeah. There you go. We're talking about Jamie, not David Bowie. So, quick fire, obvious one. Favourite trail? I'll give you 3.
Oh,
you got to do it within 60 seconds though.
That's mean.
Right, so...
hold on. No, that's right. Hold on, but you can probably edit this bit. I'll tell you why that... Part of what makes that difficult is... You ask me at any point in a given day and how I'm feeling, that would probably change. Right, edit this in 60 seconds, Alan.
Right.
2022, should we say? Favourite trail of the year?
Go for it, yeah.
Right. Got to be a shout out to Baz's Berms at Glenlivet.
Okay.
Blue Trail, but the reason that is so good is because that to me that's mountain biking. That has got to be one of the most inclusive trails ever, because
I agree.
My son could get down that with a smile. I expect Lewis Buchanan could get down that with a smile. It's just that he would be trebling the things that we are pumping through. And that, I mean, so I think that's CRC Trails at the moment who are building all that stuff, and they are doing such a good job, man. Their trails are unreal.
They're prolific,
so, right,
aren't they? Yeah.
That's got to be one of them. Baz's Berms, right. Oh my goodness. Pressure. Give me a sec.
Your first answer is that's not a fair question and what have you. That's the answer that I would have probably given as well. Because I agree with you. It is about the day, it's about the company, it's about the time.
Right, I've remembered another one.
Okay.
Do you know when you start to think back? 'Cause I'm trying to piece together my last year. We went up to Pitficky with Clark, and he took us to a hill called Millstone Hill. And I can't even remember the name of this trail. That's really annoying. But Alan, it was this sort of just these open slabs of rock, super steep, super grippy, but so steep that actually you couldn't brake with the rear. All your braking had to be on the front of this tyre, and you could you physically pulling the
feel
lever
the ground pushing
so
back
hard,
at you,
and you're like, I didn't know I could pull a front brake that hard and not have a massive accident. So that's the second one. And third one,
I'll leave it open.
It's so tricky.
Yeah, it is.
So
It's not a fair question. You're right, but everybody wants to know. A couple of people asked me to ask you, so there you go. So, so here's another one.
Mm-hmm.
So let's take.
Quickfire is hard, Alan. This should have been. I hope you're going to put some sort of jingly music over this,
like some drum and bass. So, video. If you had to point somebody, let's take Stuka Croyne as a given, because let's so if you had to point somebody to a video to give them the best example, or enthuse them to look further into your channel, which one would it be?
So the videos I did in Spain, now they didn't get the highest views because actually a lot of my viewers want to see Scottish trails, which is totally understandable. But I feel like those videos as a sort of set of like a story were some of the best videos I've done in terms of just the edit. The only thing, it's funny, the only thing, if I could go back and add one thing, I wish I'd had a drone at that point to capture some of that scenery, because it was just, for me, it was the first ever time riding abroad, Alan, and as an experience for me, it's like one that will just sort of stay with me forever. It was amazing.
So tell people where that was in Spain.
It was Ainsa, a region called Ainsa. So there's a I suppose a trail network out there called Zona Zero. So it covers a pretty large area. I don't know exactly the size of the area, but effectively what this is, and I think it's like probably a lot of riding in that part of Spain, is there's a very rural area. So there's thousands of effectively like shepherding tracks and just tracks that people would have walked to get to different villages. So what you get is this kind of hybrid of what I'd call a sort of hybrid of like Scottish mountains and trails, because it's rough, it's loose, it's got that element that you find in the mountains. It's not as curated, as manicured, but they still feel like trails. So overall, you're riding this. We were out with a company called Basque MTB who did this incredible tour, but just that sort of 6 days of riding blind trail after blind trail in a landscape that I'd never ridden before, and having all that, just the sort of the vulnerability you get out in the mountain, because actually you don't know what's going to be around the corner, and you can't be sure that you can just rail it really fast, because actually it just gets dangerous and irresponsible. So to have all of that and the fatigue and the journey, that was incredible. And I'm really fond of those edits. Like I look back and I'm like, I feel like they told the story pretty well.
Yeah. Oh,
but again, it's the inverse rule, because I absolutely love those edits and they didn't do that well.
Favourite Scottish video?
Oh,
because you chose a favourite outside of Scotland.
Yeah, favourite Scottish video. It's hard, I've got 136 videos now.
Is that right?
That's right. So that's where it kind of gets difficult to put them all. I mean, the Scorgui one, actually, not just saying that because you were here, that was pretty special. And I'll tell you, that if folks hadn't seen it, Alan took us to Scorgui and we went up to Scorgui, but the descent we took down was not the usual descent from Scorgui. In fact, we sort of traversed over to almost like another hill and went down what I'd almost class as like a hidden valley, hidden insofar as I don't imagine many people go there. And the reason I probably think of that is I was reflecting this the other day. I'm not sure that trail would even be rideable now, because when we went and rode it, we had all these little sort of like saplings were starting to like jump up at the side of the trail, and it was passable, but there was stuff starting to encroach. But I mean, I'll encourage people to go and watch the video of Scorgui, but that particular bit of trail it's like nothing I've ever ridden in Scotland before. It was a quite a hot day. You were down these like narrow single track, these little sort of saplings all growing up, and just visually it was stunning, wasn't it? And
it was something else. Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking. I mean, like I said, I don't even know if that'll still be that rideable. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like something that I may not be able to ride again, unless somebody's gone up and is actually clearing space for bikes to get down. That was a pretty incredible day, wasn't it?
It was cool. Yeah, it was a long day, but it was it was definitely one to remember. So, where are we? Hour and a quarter. Gripes. There you go.
Yeah, we got.
So
we can both talk.
Here's the question.
Oh no.
Drunken night in Torridon. Now I've heard this story, so you can embellish it as much as you like. You can use the accent if you like.
Oh no.
Why Street Pigeon?
Right. Do you see my anxiety going up? I think I'm going to do accents, but what I must say at this point is these accents, I'm just going to base it on any accents I know, and primarily the only accent I know is Borat.
Okay.
But I'm sorry, because if anyone that's tuned into this point, it is by and large a fairly underwhelming story, because it's one of those classic stories. A lot of them are good because you had to be there. But,
no pun, but you do need the sort of accent and the pigeon English.
But effectively, we're up in Torridon, and Torridon's just an amazing place. And if you've ever ridden in Torridon, there's just the hype of Torridon. But the pitfall that I think the pitfall that I fell into, but I suspect a lot of people do, is when you get to Torridon, you maybe stay in the youth hostel. I think that's pretty common. And you get to 8 o'clock tonight and you think, what am I going to do? Because there's nothing to do in Torridon. So there's a pub in Torridon. I think it might even be called the Torridon Inn or something.
There is a Torridon Inn.
I think that probably is it, which is about a 2 kilometre walk. Anyway, so you tend to go to the pub. And with a lot of these things, just the excitement of being away with the boys, the excitement of riding the next day, sometimes the beers flow a wee bit. So we were having a bit of a sesh, and you know that stage where you could just know that the dinner tables got very noisy and everyone thinks they're incredibly funny, and everything you say seems to be amusing. So, and I'm sure that's not because of the content, I'm sure it's pretty much because of the alcohol. But anyway, we were in a bit of a silly mood, and we're all having a bit of fun. And behind us there was some tourists had come to visit, and we were observing an interaction between the tourists and the member of staff that was working there. Now, for certain reasons, there was some communication issues that were happening between the waiter and the couple. So the couple had settled obviously on a dish. They were ready to choose, and they'd been interested by the game pie. And they were trying to discern the contents of the game pie. So, and then again, I'm just making up accents, folks. Who knows what they really sound like? So the couple were like, "Can you tell me what is in this game pie? You talk about rabbit?" And the waiter would go, "Yes, rabbit eat small fairy, brown, bouncy on the hill. You see, have the ears." And so, but they're understanding, and they're of course going, "Is the deer?" And she goes, "Yes, you have 4 legs, big like a cow, but it has spiky head, like oh yeah." So it's going on, and they get to the point where they say, "And what is this? It's a wood pigeon? A wood pigeon you talk about?" Like, "Yes, you have been to city. You've been on the bus. The dirty bird, the street pigeon." So at this point, we'd watch this interaction, then suddenly the visualization of this fantastic game pie with all these sort of natural wildlife, and within this pie, this skanky pigeon that had been dragged off some sort of polluted Glasgow street and stuck in a pie. And at that point, the table just absolutely erupted over the street pigeon. And we didn't think much more after it, but we came to the Torridon Inn the next night to have some dinner. And we went to sit at the same table, and we very quickly got ushered into a different room. So that probably tells you about what sort of a state we were in. But that is actually the story behind Street Pigeon.
And it was born.
It was born.
There you go.
Street Pigeon Racing, then Street Pigeon MTB.
Cool.
There you go.
Well, that's an hour and 20 minutes almost, mate. And we did set out just to say, we'll throw this at the wall and see in half an hour. that'd be great. But yeah, that's been amazing. Listen, thanks for coming along and doing this. Where can people find you? Obviously, you got all the Facebooks and all the Instagrams.
Yeah, so Street Pigeon on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter, but less so Twitter. All of them really.
Cool. So Street Pigeon MTB. I'll say it for you. Like and subscribe. Jamie, thanks very much.
No, thank you. Really enjoyed it.
Cheers, pal. All right, so that was the first Ravens Outdoor podcast. Thanks for listening. So if you enjoyed that and you want to hear a bit more like that, then like and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Always worth checking the show notes on your podcast app as well, just to see if there's any references or sponsors or offers or citations that we've been talking about during the conversations too. And I think I'll leave this one here. So, lastly, actually, if you've got any feedback on the podcast, whether it's the guests, content, the audio quality, anything you think I could be doing better, and of course anybody you think might be interesting to talk to, I will be more than glad to try and make that happen. Also, if you think you'd make a good guest on the podcast, give me a shout. Once again, thanks for listening.